If you want, take it outside. The entire thing. Take the entire thing outside. And somebody puts it there. Oh, is it?
This is backup. Just leave it here.
Okay.
Backup.
Just yes.
Recording in progress.
It's okay.
I have to bring the other chumash.
No.
I think I brought it with the sheet.
Okay.
Rabbi?
Boker Or Mevorach.
Hey, let me connect this.
תודה רבה רבנו.
We're open.
Okay, Rabbi, we're good.
All right, Rabotai, Boker Or. Erev Shabbat Kodesh, the time is short. And we'll just say one quick idea on the Parashat that we're about to read, Parashat Bo. Something has to be settled immediately, and that is that the Makot are not written in one Parashah, which would have been the logical thing to do. Just write all 10 and be Parashat Makot. Instead, they gave us, part 1, part 2, which is a sequel. Parashat Ba'era, they gave us 7, and then they say at the end of the parasha, stay tuned. I guess they want the people to come to shul next week. It's one way to get the people to attend. You're in the middle of the movie, so you got to come back and see, the last couple of scenes. So it's a good tactic. So they give us 7 of the makot in Parashat Ba'era, and they give us the last 3 in Parashat Bo. Now, this is a class that we usually try to explain the pshat of the Pesukim. However, if this was a class of Kabbalah, so the numbers 7 and 3 are very, very significant in Kabbalah. You'll see it all over the Torah, 7 and 3. 7 and 3 you see by Para Aduma. That's the days that they get sprinkled, 3 and 7. You'll see it as well when it comes to, let's say, the 3 weeks. So you have the Shlosha, the Puranut, and then you have the 7 weeks of Nehama. You also have 3 and 7. And these are numbers that you're going to see all over the place, because again, according to the Mikubalim, the 3 represents the Gar, the Gimel Rishonot, Chochmah, Bina, Bada'at, and the 7 represent the Zayin Tahtonot, the Zat, which is Chesed, Givurat, Tefillah, Nisachon, Yesod, Malchut. So the 3 and the 7 definitely have what to say in the Makot as well. The first 7 Makot represent the lowest 7 spheres, and the last 3 Makot represent the 3 higher spheres, Makat Bechorot being Keter, which is Bechor, is the Keter, is the head, and so on and so forth. But that again is for a, we have to dim the lights for when we talk about that's a little more esoteric stuff. But here we just came to explain on a simple level. Now I did make the observation that there is a distinction between the first 7 and the last 3, which might be the cause of them being separated in Parashiyot, and that is not in the Makot. Of course, the Makot are distinct; each one is different. But in Paro's reaction, pay attention. The first 7, Paro's answer is categorically no, and there's nothing to negotiate, and there's nothing to talk about. It's just a flat out, you're not going, and I'm not letting you go, and enough is enough. When you get to Parashat Bo, so Parashat Bo already is Makat Arbeh. So Moshe Rabbeinu comes, Shalach Ami v'ya'abduni, and if you don't let up people go, I'm going to send you the Arbeh. And he tells them what the Arbeh is going to do, a locust. And even the people of Paro's household, they come and say enough is enough. I mean, the guy's 7 for 7. It's batting 1,000. Even Babe Ruth doesn't have a record like that. So therefore, it's probably Arbeh is going to come. And we're running out of food after Barad. And all we got left is some wheat. So therefore, maybe it's time to negotiate. So, Vayushav el Moshe ve'el Aaron el Paro, Vayomer amlechu evdu et Adonai Elohechem. Go, mi v'mi ha'olechim. So this is the first time already Paro is questioning, okay, you can go, but who's going? Vayomer Moshe ben alenu b'skenenu nelech. We're going with everybody. We're taking the youngsters, we're taking the old people, bebanenu, benotenu, we're taking the boys, we're taking the girls. Sonenu, bibkarenu nelech, we're taking the animals. Ki hag lanu, it's a holiday. So there you go. This is winter vacation min haTorah minayin. It's right here in this pasuk. Bebanenu, benotenu. Ki hag laHashem lanu. So that's everybody goes away this week, and they go away with everybody. They take everything with them. So vayomer alehem. So Paro says, okay, you got me. Yichen Hashem imachem. You know what? Allah ma'ak, as they say in Arabic. God be with you. But then he comes and he tells them, Re'uki ra'ah neged penechem. He tells them, I see ra'ah neged penechem. I see bad. What does it mean he sees bad? So that she comes along and says that back to the stargazers. Paro was a big astrologer. He loved the stars. And he had readers that would come and always give him, different readings. And they told him, listen, we see in the stars that it's not going to be good for the Jewish people. There's a certain angel that's called Ra'ah, and it seems that we see blood coming from the children, and it's going to be a bloodbath. And therefore, Paro comes along and says, Re'uki ra'ah neged penechem. I see Ra'ah. Read Rashi. Kochav echad yesh sheshmo Ra'ah. There's a star. It's called Ra'ah. Amar lahem Paro, ro'eh ani be'estagninut sheli. I see in my gazings. Oto kochav oleh likratchem. There's a certain star that's going to rise up against you b'midbar. V'siman dam. Dariga. It represents blood and slaughter. Ukshahatu Yisrael ba'egel, when the Jewish people actually worshipped the golden calf, ubikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'horgem, and God wanted to kill them. Amar Moshe b'tfilato, lama yomeru Mitzrayim nemor bera'ah hotzi'am. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's great claim, that if you're going to kill us in the Midbar, then you gave Paro a chance to say, see, I told you. So lama yomeru aguim bera'ah hotzi'am, that the malach called, or the star called Ra'ah, came along and succeeded. So that would be Chilul Hashem. So the pasuk says, "Vayinachem Adonai al Ra'ah." So God had consolation, or God had regret on the Ra'ah. Ve'afak et adam ledam milah. But the blood had to come out, so the blood ends up becoming blood of Brit Milah. Shemal Yoshua. Remember when Yoshua came into Eretz Yisrael? So one of the first things of order was that he circumcised the Jewish people, and there was a lot of blood. So therefore, the Ra'ah went from being Ra'ah of a slaughter, of mass murder, of the Jewish people to becoming mass circumcision, and hence the blood was there. And that's why when Yoshua, if you remember, before he tells them to circumcise themselves, he says, Hayom galoti et chirpat Mitzrayim ma'alechem. Today I have removed the shame of the Egyptians over you. What's the shame? Because they were trying to shame us by saying Re'u ra'ah neget penechem. But this is the ra'ah now. The ra'ah has turned into a brit milah. So the dam of shechita became dam milah. Fine. But what I don't understand in this pasuk is, since when did Paro become such a humanitarian that he's worried about the blood of the Jewish people? What is he telling them? He's saying, listen, he said, listen, I see bloodshed. I see bad. So Paro should say, and therefore, good luck. What Paro's worried about the fact that the Jews are going to go into the Midbar, and he's tipping us off. And we didn't see it; they saw it. So Paro is telling, listen, I see ra'ah, I see blood. So he should say, therefore, you have my blessings. Good luck, and I wish you well. And we'll pick up the pieces. We'll come back and take all our jewelry back, because you're going to be dead in the midbar. Instead, what does he say? Lochen lechunah gevarim. Because we see ra'ah neged penechem, so only the adults should go. Ve'ebdu et Adonai ki otah atem mebakshim, because that's what you want anyway. Only let the adults go. Vaygaresh otam me'et Paro, me'et penei Paro, they kick him out. So this I found to be a little strange. This I found to be a little strange. Why is it that because there's going to be ra'ah neged penechem, so he says therefore only let the adults go? Why not let the kids go also? Let everybody go. What's the problem? They're all going to die. Okay, let's continue for a minute. And then all of a sudden the Arbeh comes, and Vaychaset en haaretz, Vaymaher Paro lekro Moshe v'Aharon, Pasuk Tet Zayin, Hatati laHashem, okay, Sana Hatati. So the Pasuk comes along and says one more plague, and the plague is going to be Choshech. Okay, Lo ra'u ish et achiv. That's really Choshech. When a man can't see his brother, that's Makat Choshech, Rabotai. So now look at Pasuk Chav Daled. Again, I'm not coming to say deep stuff. I'm just trying to get simple interpretation of what the Pasukim mean. I'm not coming to say, nobody should say, hey, where's the where's the earth-shattering bomb? There's no bombs. A simple explanation of how you learn the text. Vayikra Paro el Moshe Chav Daled Vayomer Lechu Abdu Adonai. I go. One stipulation. See, in Parashat already, he's making moves, he's making compromises, he's making concessions. Rak sonchem ubkarchem yutzak. Now what does he want? Just leave the animals. Gam tapechem yelechem achem. Oh, now he's conceding the kids. Before in Makat Arbeh, he said, no, the kids stay over here. And now he's letting the kids go also to the kids program. And he's just saying the animals. Now, if I'm Moshe, I'm good at this point. I got everybody. I'm not such a, I don't work for the ASPCA. I'm not an animal rights activist. All right, who is the animals anyway? Good luck to your animals. Keep your animals. Kapara on the animals. That wasn't, when we talk about Yetziat Mitzrayim, nobody ever looks at it as a victory for, animal rights lovers. It says, Baruch Hashem, the animals finally were in captivity and they came free.
God. Egyptian God.
You're answering, you're asking, what are you doing? It's a question, it's an answer, what are you saying?
No, I say,
Just tell me it's a question or an answer, so I know what the, how to my brain, which button I should put. It's a question or an answer. It's a question or an answer.
No, I say...
You say, I don't know, say, it's a question or answer. אתה שואל, אתה עונה. שואל, okay, fine.
שואל, when he say, I'm releasing your whole animal, now I believe that he believed there is a God. And this is what they used to be their God.
That sounds like an answer.
This is not this year for questions.
Okay. No, but I don't hear a question. I hear an answer. Okay, so anyway, so now, if I know. Okay, so now the explanation is like this. Moshe Rabbeinu was being told by Paro, you got everybody, the men, the women, the children, good luck. You go, just leave me the animals. Again, if I'm Moshe Rabbeinu, I tell Aaron, you know what? Animals, who cares about the animals anyway? The animals, they smell, they this. Leave me, let them deal with the animals. We got to feed them. That's a victory. Moshe comes along and says, no. Vayomer Moshe, gam ata titen biyadenu sevachim ve'olot. Not does he say we're taking our animals, but he says, you're going to give us also. Wow. So concerned about the animals. Vegam miknenu yelech imanu. And not only are we taking our animals, lo tishaer parsa. We're not leaving a hoof. Ki mimenu nikach la'avodat Adonai Eloheinu. We need it for korbanot. ואנחנו לא נדע מה נעבוד את אדוני עד בואנו שמה. And we're really not sure exactly what we're going to have to bring and what he's going to ask us. So therefore we got to bring everything. So Moshe Rabbeinu is not up for negotiations on the animal, even though he got seemingly the main item. So just to explain the Pesukim al pi pshat. So let's go back. Let's go back and explain like this. You have to know that whenever the Egyptians get these visions from the stars, it's not what we would call aspaklaria me'ira. It's not HD. It's not high definition prophecy. These are vague stuff that usually come in very, very foggy reception, and they don't really have a clear understanding. They just get, vague interpretation. And we know that from the Gemara. We learned in Sotah on Yud Aleph. Over there it says that they saw in the stars that the Jewish leader is going to be born. And they saw that he's going to be brought down by water. So they said, it must mean that we got to kill the Jewish leader in water. So called that Ben Ayilod. Now they didn't see it clear, but they were making sense of a vague star reading. Now, truth is, they were wrong. I mean, although the Jewish leader was going to be born and he would be taken down by water, but that would be hitting the rock. So they really didn't get they don't always get it. They don't always get it right. They get it, more or less, but they don't always have a clarity in what they're seeing. You'll see many examples of whenever the stargazers come along, it's up for interpretation. So now the Mefarshim will explain like this. Paro, they get a vision. Let's say we see a lot of blood. We see a lot of blood, and we see a lot of blood on the next generation of children, because that's really what it was. Who got circumcised? Not the Jews that came out of Egypt. The next generation when they came into Eretz Israel. So he saw kids and blood. That's all he sees. Now he doesn't see Brit Milah. They don't see exactly where the blood's coming from. So Paro, he comes to the explanation that the Jewish people want to bring korbanot, and it seems the korbanot that they want to bring are human korbanot. Like it was very customary in the olden days that the Goyim would bring their children as sacrifices. So therefore, and he says, I see it. I see exactly what you want. I see there's children. I see there's blood. You're telling me from day one that you want to bring korbanot to your God. So what do you need? What do you need the animals for? And therefore, the pasuk comes along and says Yehi chen Hashem emechem kasher ashla etchem ve'et tapechem. And the reason why I'll send tapechem is why, or the reason why he says, Pasuk Yud, Vayomer alehem, Yichen Hashem emechem kasher ashalach etchem ve'et tapechem, re'u ki ra'an neged penechem. So he says, I see the ra'an neged penechem. And therefore, what I see is that all you want to do is slaughter your children. And therefore, if that's the case, that you want to slaughter your children, therefore there's no need for animals. Why do you have to send the animals? Don't tell me you want to use animals for korbanot. It's the children that you can use for the korbanot. So therefore, meaning if do it Hashem, the way you're going to serve God by slaughtering your children. And that's why he lets the Gibanim go, because he didn't see the Gibanim going to get slaughtered. He thinks, Paro, that the way the Jewish people are going to serve is going to be through human sacrifice. And therefore he has no problem to let the children go, because they're going to be the sacrifices. Now, that's that. By God, Paro. That's how he leaves them. Now watch. So the pasuk comes along and says, if you go to the next plague, Makat Choshe, go back to where we were. Vayikra Paro el Moshe, and he says to them, Lechu abdu et Hashem rak sulchemu barkarchem yutzag. That's why he tells them, leave the animals. Gam tepechem yelech imahem. At this point, he lets the taf go, like we said, because that's all you want at the end of the day. You want to bring the taf as korbanot. Vayomer Moshe comes along and says, Gam atat titen biyadenu zebachim ve'olot. Not only are we're slaughtering our children, are you out of your mind? This is a korban issue. Gam atat titen biyadenu zebachim ve'olot ba'asir on Shem Eloheinu. Ve'gam miknenu yelech imanu, and all our mikneh will go with us as well. Lo tishaer parsa. We're not going to even leave a parsa, says the Midrash, even the non-kosher animals we're taking. Parsa is like the hoof of a horse, or the hoof of a camel, or a donkey. So the Orachim HaKadosh says, if your whole thing is to bring korbanot, why would you even come along and say, Lo teshaer parsa? That's not service. Says the Orachim HaKadosh, Ki mimenu nikah. Nikah means we don't know how much we have to bring to God. We don't know how much korbanot He's going to ask us to bring. And therefore, we have to bring all the animals in order to sell them. Nikah milashon kiha. Kiha is transaction. Ki mimenu nikah la'avodet Hashem. We need to sell the non-kosher animals, possibly to buy kosher animals in order to bring it to God. And then he comes along and says, and we don't know how much he's going to ask us to sacrifice until we get there. Orachim HaKadosh explains. But all could have told Moshe, hey, you're a prophet, ask God how much you need, and just take exactly what you need. When you got to take everything, and even stuff aside to be kosher, because you might have to sell it to bring more, we understand that your God might ask you to bring a large amount. Why don't you ask God before you leave, so you know the number, so that you don't have to take everything. So the Orachim HaKadosh says, Moshe Rabbeinu says very cleverly, it's not derech eretz to ask God how much you want. It's not the shuk. So before we leave, I should ask God, okay, listen, we're leaving now, just tell us the number of korbanot, as if it's a burden on us. We need to know the number, because we can't take more than, we're going to take everything. So show God that we're ready for all-in service. And then God will give us the number. So Moshe Rabbeinu, in his words now, is being very clear, beating Paro to any potential answers back. So therefore, if Paro is going to answer back, what do you need the non-kosher animals for? Hey, kimimenu nikah, because we're going to sell them in order to buy kosher animals. Why do you got to take everything? Why don't you ask God? Because we're not going to know until we get there. Because it's not derech eretz to ask God how much He wants. The king tells us, and then we have to be ready to serve. That wouldn't be derech eretz. But the key word in this pasuk, which I'm saying today, you Paro made a mistake. I don't know what you're seeing about blood and kids, but we're not bringing our kids as korbanot. I'll tell you that much. V'gam miknenu yelech imanu lo tisher. Put a key word down. Ki mimenu nikach la'avot et Hashem. Mimenu velo min hataf. Exactly. The word mimenu over here is the key, because the mimenu is coming to reject Paro's notion that I see blood, I see kids, so therefore take the kids. Good luck, bring them as the korban. That's all you're asking for anyway, to bring korbanot. Bring them. Shalom, out of your mind. We're not like you that bring our kids for korban. Although you might not be wrong, because our kids are actually being brought as a korban brit milah, which the Zohar HaKadosh says that when a child goes for brit milah, it's considered a korban. So you see, Paro, his vision is not perfect. He sees korban, he sees blood, but he just doesn't realize it's brit milah and not human sacrifice. So therefore he comes along at the end after Makat Choshech and he says, by the way, take the kids also. And that's what you're doing anyway. And what do you need the animals? And Moshe Rabbeinu corrects him. He says, no. Gam miknenu yelech imanu lo tishba ki mimenu nikach la'avodat Hashem. Remember how we're learning? Rabotai, it's worth it to come all the way to Florida just to medayek one word in the Sefer Torah. Otherwise, you don't need that word. Just read it. Lo tisher parsa ki nikach la'avodat Hashem. Mimenu is an exclusionary term. Mimenu says, it is from these that we're going to bring, as opposed to something else. What was the something else? Is there another option? There's only one item that's suitable for a korban, an animal. So what is Moshe Rabbeinu going to say? He's responding to something. Obviously, Paro told him, bring A for a korban. And Moshe Rabbeinu saying, no. We're bringing this, ki mimenu. What did you say, Paro? What was your option? No, because you were saying the korban is going to come from the taf. And then Moshe Rabbeinu has to answer back, no, I don't know what you're seeing in the stars. That to be determined. You're seeing something, but you have a track record that usually you don't see so good anyway. So that doesn't even worry us. We'll deal with that when we get to it. But for now, we're taking not only our animals, we're going to take your animals also. And we're even taking your non-kosher camels, because mimenu nikah, because we have to trade them and sell them in order to be ready if God asks us to bring an exorbitant amount of korban. We have to be ready to bring the korban. And why don't you ask God? Because we don't ask God how much He wants. That's not derech eretz, to ask God how much He wants. What derech eretz is, you're ready, and when God says, I want everything, you're ready to respond. Otherwise, you're asking God, it sounds like it's a burden. How much you want? 50 korbanot. 50 korbanot. It's like a restaurant. You want to Uber Eats now before the Uber korbanot? No, not derech eretz. Okay, fine. So far, you follow me how we're learning?
What do you mean from the taf?
Taf is the Yeladim.
Okay.
Taf. So therefore, so now side question. Why would Moshe Rabbeinu even think for a minute that they have to bring an unlimited amount of korbanot? And he's giving him, we don't know how much he's going to ask, therefore we got to bring everything. When did we ever see a korban that's like all in? What's a korban? All that tamid, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 7 on Shabbat. I mean, it's not 7 million korbanot. When did we have a service of so many korbanot? So there's a Midrash Rabbah in this week's Parashat, in Perek Yudchet, if you look at it. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, we haven't brought korbanot for 210 years. And who knows? We don't know if God's going to tell us to bring Tashlumin. We don't know. 210 years you had us locked over here. And we're a nation of korbanot. Abraham brought korbanot, Yitzhak brought korbanot, Yaakov, they always bring korbanot. We haven't brought one korban in 210 years. So we're not sure that Borei Olam is keeping tabs. And he might come along and tell us, listen, here's the Chazbon, you got to bring 210 years of korban, olad, shlamims, and musafim. Based on this, I saw from a sefer called Ebre Emet something beautiful. You have a sidur?
Yeah.
There's a tradition that's brought down by the tzaddikim that when Mashiach comes and we build the Bet HaMikdash, which is going to happen at any minute. I mean, if it didn't happen yet, I didn't get the... Did they say anything yet?
No text messages yet.
No, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen exactly like this. It's going to be middle of the shiur, and all of a sudden you can hear a siren go off, and the rabbi's going to walk out and say, listen, I just got word from the mayor of the village, the Mashiach's here, so everybody just make your way to the airport, take whatever you want. Well, we got to finish this year first, exactly.
The airport and everyone was closed.
Exactly. So it's going to be exactly like that, just as sudden. So when Mashiach comes, we're going to have to bring all the korbanot that we didn't bring over the 2,000 years of Galut. So it's going to be a busy day in the Beit HaMikdash that first couple of days. Going to be a lot of old business going to take care of. And how do they learn it? So they learn it. He learns it based on this midrash. Because you see, the Moshe Rabbeinu said we got to bring 210 years worth of korbanot. So if you have to bring 210 years of korbanot, you got to bring 2,000 years. And they bring it ayah from the Sidur, which is the best place to bring it ayah for all this stuff. Look in the Sidur in two places. First, look at Musaf. In Musaf, what do we say? We say like this. Here. ירצום לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו שתעלנו בשמחה לארצנו, and bring us to Israel. תטענו בגבולנו, and plant us in our borders. ושם נעשה לפניך את קורבנות רבותינו, so we can bring the קורבנות. תמידים כסדרן, מוספים כאדם, את מוסף יום השבת הזה. את מוסף יום השבת הזה? Says the Imremet, exactly, that bring us to the Beit HaMikdash so we can bring את מוסף יום השבת הזה. We got to bring the korban of this Shabbat because we owe it. We're missing it. So then when you see Timidin Kisadan Musafik Kadam, what does it say? Continue. It Musaf Yom Shabbat. It says Naasev v'nakrib lefanecha. So therefore, this Shabbat, don't think that it's passing without korbanot. Yeah, we're not going to bring korbanot today, but there's a come a time when Mashiach's going to come. And we're going to be in the Beit HaMikdash together, and they're going to make an announcement about now we're going to bring the Shabbat, Parashat Bo, Tavshin Pedalet, Korban Musaf. And I'm going to tell you, I told you so. I told you, see that, remember? And you can say, yes, we were in the rabbi's office over here, in Surfside, in the upstairs from the liquor store, Avdil, and the rabbi said that the Korbanot are going to be brought. Furthermore, if you look in the Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, they have similar language. In Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, what does it say? In Musaf of Rosh Chodesh, it says, Rashi Chodashim, Zaman Kapara, Biyutam, and Vezwason, Us'ir, Hata, Dechaber Ba'adam, Zekaron, Decholam, Tishwan, Hashem, Biyad Soneh, Mizbeah Hadash, B'Sion Tachin. We're going to build what? Mizbeah Hadash in Zion, Ve'olat Rosh Chodesh, Na'aleh Alav. And the Olav Rosh Chodesh, we're going to bring. And he learns it. Which Seir of Rosh Chodesh? The one that we're supposed to bring on this Rosh Chodesh that we didn't bring is to be brought as well. So that's the Hava Amina of why Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know, we might need a ton of korban. We might need a lot of korbanot because, like we said, there's a lot of backup that we have, a lot of korbanot that were outstanding. Because that's Api Apshat. So let's review again Api Apshat. Then I'm going to say one Derech Api Musar, and then we'll call it a day. So Api Apshat, these three Makot are different than the first seven. Here, Paro's finally conceding. What is he conceding? You can go with the adults, but not the children. And then he says, all right, you can bring the children, but not the animals. And the reason why he doesn't want to let the animals go, why should let the animals go? You're bringing the children as korbanot. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, Hazbe Shalom, we're not like you. We're like you, the Arabs that blow up their children. We're not blowing up our children, and we're not bringing them as human sacrifices. We're bringing the animals. And we're bringing all the animals. As a matter of fact, even you're going to give us animals because we don't know how much we have to sell from the non-kosher in order to replace them with kosher animals. And we're not asking God now how much He wants. We're going to wait until we get there. He'll tell us exactly the price. This is one mahalach. Ayin in Sefer Be'er Yosef for an elaboration of this mahalach. Rabbi Yosef Salant. Now I want to say a different explanation, which I think is a very, very important musar. Harambam he wrote, besides the Yad HaZakah and She'elot Utshuvot and Moreh Nevuchim, he wrote many igirot, letters, to different communities to give them chizuk. And these are very, very important letters, the letters of Harambam. Books have been written to explain these letters of the Rambam. It's Rishonim. The Rishon is writing a letter. You have to study his, even his regular words. You have to study with, with the kavanot. So in one of his letters, Harambam writes, and he get it Musar, that you have to know that whenever you see Paro's name, Paro represents the Yetzer Hara. Hadush. It's Hadush because Harambam usually is not, allegorical and takes things out of its natural, simple pshat. Paro's the Yetzer Hara. Paro's Paro. Of course Paro's Paro. But when you study the parashiyot of Paro, you have to imagine that he's the embodiment of Yetzer Hara. And if you learn Paro's tactics and Paro's ploys and his strategy, you'll know exactly how to fight against the Yetzer Hara. That's why the Torah gives us so much elaboration on it, because you need to know your enemy. And your enemy is Paro. And therefore, he uses the same tactics over and over again. So you have to be ready for them. So you have to study the parasha of Paro and Moshe and Bnei Israel as something that is personal, something that is actually relatable, which is Hadush of the Rambam.
It's like the Shaka and Matari.
Exactly, which means the Rambam actually was mechaven to a Zohar. There's an old debate if the Rambam saw the Zohar or he didn't see the Zohar. This debate is from here to tomorrow. I believe he did see the Zohar, because there's many, many proofs that the Rambam saw the Zohar, but that wasn't his purpose when he came into this world, to reveal the Zohar. His purpose was to reveal the Pshat, the Halakha, because the Zohar clearly says Paro da Yetzer Hara, and the Rambam says it pashut like that. Mesilat Yesharim, if anybody ever learned Mesilat Yesharim, in the beginning of Mesilat Yesharim, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, he says it as a matter of fact. He says one of the main tactics of the Yetzer Hara is to keep a person busy, because he knows that if a person has just a few moments of contemplation to think and to think about his own future, Kimad Kat, in a split second, he'll make the shuvah and he'll come back. So the Yetzer Hara knows that, and that's why he has to keep the person just busy. Now, a lot of times it's busy doing nothing. Most of the people are busy doing nothing, but it's busy nonetheless. You see them on their phones doing nothing. When you see guys sitting on the phone, most of the time he's doing nothing, but he's keeping busy doing nothing, because the Yetzer Hara doesn't want him to think about his own future. I saw a guy on the train once, a religious guy. He's sitting there, and I just see him going like this. He's making X's across the board, back and forth, back and forth. I have a phone also. I never knew that that's an option. What is he doing? Making X's back and forth. I went, you see fruit falling from the shamayim, and he's slicing bananas, and he's slicing oranges and kiwis. I told the guy, you're not embarrassed. You're not embarrassed. You're a grandfather. I mean, you're sitting in public on the F train. You have nothing better to do than slice fruit. Go to sleep is better. In public, this is something you do in your closet under the bed when no one's looking, to show that you have some sort of disorder, that you really have nothing better to do than to slice fruit that are falling from the shamayim. It wasn't even Tu B'Shvat. You can't even say he was doing some sort of Tu B'Shvat. What's going on? So people are busy doing nothing. So the Mesilat Yesharim writes, because the Yetzer Hara knows if you had a second to your own, you right away you'd think about God. And what's the proof that he brings? Paro. He says Paro, when the Jewish people early on came along and said, we want to go 3 days, we want to make a seminar in the Midbar to serve God. So what does Paro say? Nirpim atem nirpim. You have too much time in your hands. And that's why you're coming along and saying you want to go serve God. He says, Tichbad alehem ha'avodah v'al yish'u b'divrei shakir. Give them more work so they won't have time to contemplate this falsehood. That's exactly what Paro said. And the Rambam says, Paro's the Yetzer Hara. So you see, it's exactly the same tactics that Paro would use, or tactics of the Yetzer Hara. Give them more work so they can't contemplate. And that's the same thing as the evil inclination. So if that's the case, we have to know one of the tactics of the Yetzer Hara. And that is what the Gemara says. כך היא דרכה של יצר הרע. היום אומר לו עשה כך, ומחר אומר לו עשה כך, עד שאומר לו עבוד עבודה זרה. The Yetzer Hara is a master negotiator. He knows that he can't tell the person on the first day, be Mahalil Shabbat, eat tarif. You can't tell the guy, do me a favor, I'm not going to listen. So he knows that he has to just get his foot in the door. If he has his foot in the door and he can get you just to talk to him, just to negotiate a little, eventually, over time, he could wear you down and eventually get you to do something that you never thought you were capable of doing. But it's a slow process. You don't even see it. It's so subtle, the Yetzer Hara. But his end game is Avodah Zarah. And that's why when it comes to Yetzer Hara, there's absolutely no negotiating. You cannot have any conversation with him. Just like we don't negotiate with terrorists. Once you negotiate with a terrorist, what ends up happening? They take Gush Katif, and then they take the West Bank, and then they start, because you negotiated with them. Because they sat down, they said, no, just give us the Gush Katif area, and then we're going to go to sleep, we're not going to bother you. We'll be happy, you have your land, we have our land. The first day they came in, they started bombing. I said, what do we do over here? We negotiate with a terrorist. Why'd you negotiate with them for? They don't have your interest. They make it in the beginning of the negotiation if they have your interest, but they don't have your interest. And what ends up happening? Now they want more. The same thing with the Yetzer Hara. So therefore, one has to be very careful not to give the Yetzer Hara an inch. You can't give him an opening. La petah hatat rovetz. The hatat stands where? At the petach. All you got to give is a little petach, and already he's able to capitalize and come in. And before you know it, now you have to deal with him. That's the way. The Hafetz Chaim gave the famous mashal when he saw when he was young. He saw the dog come, and the dog comes in front of the fruit store and tips over the apple cart, and you see hundreds of apples rolling down the street, and you see the fruit guy picking up all the apples, and you see the dog run away with one apple in his mouth. So the Hafetz Chaim said, all the dog wanted was one apple. So he knocked over the whole cart, and the guy thinks, I got them all back. But that's all he wanted was the one. So he made a whole... The Yetzer Hara is the same way. That means the Yetzer Hara, he doesn't want big gains. He wants a small gain. So that you think that you held on to your ground and you gave the Yetzer Hara one apple. But that's what he wanted from the beginning, in order that now he has already a hold on you. Now already he has a say. Now we entered the negotiations with you. And now you got to deal with him. And therefore, you close the door. Once you have to deal with him, you're going to concede to him. Because he's going to get you, because he's very clever. And therefore, says the tzaddikim, when it comes to Yetzer Hara, there cannot be any negotiation with him. And we know what goes on today. Yetzer tells you, okay, get this computer, and you get a filter, and I have to tell you exactly how the Yetzer Hara figures it out. Before you know it, the Yetzer Hara, I'll give you a mashal that doesn't apply today, so you don't feel bad on your vacation. Hundreds of years ago, or 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the Yetzer Hara came along and said, TV. And the rabbis were screaming, no, TV, Azwa Shalom. And the modern people said, what do you mean? TV is nothing, there's nothing on TV. First of all, it's black and white, there's 4 channels. 3 of them are news, and at 12 o'clock at night, they go blank. There's nothing on. Channel 13, you're on it with Mr. Rogers. What are you watching? There wasn't any, they didn't find anything controversial. And the Hachamim said, no, you don't understand what the Yetzer Hara. He knows that. First, he wants to get a TV in every house. And once everybody has a TV in every house, now he's going to bring out the cable, then he'll bring out the movies, Netflix. Because he has to get you addicted first. So he knows what he's doing. First he brings it in. No, it's educational, and you can learn, and it's news, and you got to... So everybody said, what's the matter with it? So everybody has a TV now. There's a screen TV all over the walls. They put, instead of B'rik Shemer, they put up a TV screen. Beautiful. And now, before you know it, when everybody has it installed, then the Yetzer Hara comes and goes, okay, 500 channels, and now you got this, and you got that, 24 hours a day, 7 days. And before you know it, it's too late. The rabbi saw it 50 years ago when it was still black and white with Bugs Bunny. But they saw what was coming. They saw what was coming. So the same thing with Yetzer Hara, you have to be very careful because he doesn't have your interest. He has a plan, and his plan is to destroy. So therefore, if Paro's the Yetzer Hara, watch what happens now. Paro comes along, and he's so worried about the animals. When you care about the animals, once you're letting the people go, that's it, you lost. So what is, the animals. So the Haskuni says, because the animals will be a collateral. They'll come back. They're not leaving their animals. That was Paro's thinking, that if I keep the animals, so that's a lot of asset. So that's like the collateral. But says the Baalei Musar different. One of the great rabbis, Me'ozrov, he says that Paro's the Yetzer Hara, and therefore he's got to keep a hold on them. So how does he keep his foot in the door? We're still connected. You go, leave the animals here. That already is the Yetzer Hara trying to keep his connection with Bnei Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu recognizes that that's the most dangerous thing, that to have a connection with Paro, that he's holding on to the animals, we're out, that means he still has a hold on us. He still has some connection. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu is not taking that lightly. I asked you in the beginning, who cares? Keep the animals. What do you care? The main thing is you get your freedom. No, Moshe Rabbeinu understands that's a very dangerous item, that you're already negotiating with Paro and you're giving into something. Hayom omer lo asekach. Who knows what he's going to tell you? Because you left the negotiations opened. You left something. Okay, you take this, I'll take that. What are you negotiating with the guy for? And therefore, Paro is the Yetzer Hara with Moshe Rabbeinu. He has to categorically reject everything that Paro is going to say and not give him it. And that's why he says, Lo tishaer parsa. We're not going to even leave one huv. What kind of talk is that? Just say, one behemah. Because he wants to make it clear, even one hoof of an animal, if we see a hoof on the floor, we're taking them also with us. Why? Because that's all the Yetzer Hara needs, one cell. All you need is one bad cell, and God forbid if it's in the body, it metastasizes. And the body is only one cell, that's all you need, one bad cell. Parsa! And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching us how to negotiate with the Yetzer Hara. The negotiation is no negotiation. And you don't even give him a parsa. Ki mimenu nikach la'avod et Hashem. Because we're going to take everything. La'avod et Hashem Eloheinu. When you take everything, that's avodat Hashem. V'anachnu lo neda man na'avod et Hashem ad bo'enu shama. Finally, I'll conclude what the Hatam Sofer said. The Hatam Sofer said that when a person does the right thing and he serves God in the proper way, so even the Yetzer Hara at the end has to make peace with the guy. The Yetzer Hara tries in the beginning to fight. It's like on Friday night, it says when the person comes home to a beautiful Shabbat with Nerot and the table set, two angels come. One Malach Tov, one Malach Ra. And the angel of Tov says, just like he has Shabbat this week, God willing, he'll have the same thing next week. And the Malach Ra has to answer Amen. Bal Korho. So therefore, there comes a point where even the Malach Ra, you're subjugating, but the only way you're subjugating is by not dealing with him. And then already he becomes under you. So Hatam Sofer said, if you remember, when Eliyahu Navi was on top of Mount Carmel, you don't have Malbim, do you, Rabbi?
I would have to check.
Maybe not Malbim. On the Parashiot, on this pasuk, there's a famous, no Malbim in the back here, is it?
There no.
The famous, I'm remembering, it's not Hatam Sofer, it's a Malbim. If you find the Malbim on this pasuk over here, Perik Yud pasuk Chav He. You remember Eliyahu Navi? Remember he was bringing the korbanot on Hara Carmel? On Hara Carmel there was the Nevi HaBaal, and there was him, Eliyahu Navi, the good people, the religious people. And they said, listen, we're going to settle this once and for all. If you believe that your God is the God, you bring a korban, we'll bring a korban. Whoever is able to bring the fire from heaven without using fire, so then already that'll be the proof who has the real God. Good. Oh, beautiful. So what happened? So what happened was, so there's two animals on the mountain, Eliyahu Navi's and the Nevi Baals. So Eliyahu Navi tells them, okay, you go first. So they start to pull the animal doesn't want to go. Of course, I don't blame the animal. He doesn't want to be on the Mizbeah of the Nevi Baal. So he's putting his feet in the ground. So they go, listen, come with us. I'm not coming with you. He's pulling. So Eliyahu Navi says, it's like you're having a hard time. You think you're going to be able to bring a fire? You can't even get the animal on the Mizbeah. You can't forget it, but this is the easy part. You can't even get into the batter's box. How are you going to hit a home run? They're pulling. So finally, Eliyahu Navi whispered in the ear of the pod and said, don't worry, go with them. You're going to be just as big as Kiddush Hashem as mine. Because by the fact that the fire is not going to come down, you're also going to be part of the Kiddush Hashem. So once Eliyahu Navi told the pod to go, so it went. And then, of course, what happened? Eliyahu Navi, of course, went alone. So now, look how the Malbim learns the pasuk. Gam atat titen biyadenu zevachim ve'olot. Right? You're going to give us zevachim ve'olot. Gam miknenu yelech imanu. And our mikneh yelech imanu. What does that mean? Gam miknenu yelech imanu. You're going to give us, but miknenu yelech imanu. So he says, ולכן גם מקננו ילך עמנו, שממנו ניקח לעבוד את השם על שמך ולכבודך, ולא תאמר שדי במקצת הסוד והבקר, כי אנחנו לא נדע כמה יצווה. ועל דרך המוסר, אמר שמקננו ילך מעצמו. Our animals are going to walk by themselves. ולא ירצה להישאר פה. You think our animals are going to have a choice? When we leave, our animals are going to follow us. We're not going to have to take them. Why? כמו הפר של אליהו, שהלך מעצמו להישחט לקורבן. Just like Eliyahu's korban, it didn't need to be pulled. Eliyahu Navi's korban, it jumped on the Mizbeah. Why? Because it wanted to serve. So therefore, he learns the musar from this. וממנו ניקח מוסר. לעבוד את השם ולמסור נפשותנו על כבוד שמו על דרך מלפנו מבמות הארץ. You can learn from the animals. Just like the animals run to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so too you should learn. So therefore, the two musarim we learn from this parasha, musar number one, Paro's the Yetzer. So Paro was coming to negotiate and say, what? Just leave us. Leave a little korban. Leave us a little. And Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm not going to even give you a parsa. I know what you're trying to do. And if we're teaching a musar to Bnei Yisrael, you give them nothing. And we know this from what happens in Israel today. All the negotiations, only what it led to. The negotiating with the Yetzer Hara only led to bloodshed, only led to murder, and only led to their true intentions. So similarly over here, you see Paro the same thing. Give me this, just give me that. And Paro, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches us the lesson, you get nothing. We're cutting all ties with you. You're not going to have even one morsel of our property. And then he tells him another musar. Gam miknenu yelech imanu. Because we're doing the right thing for God, our animal is not going to even need to be pulled. It's not going to be needed to be drawn towards us. Yelech imanu. It's like the part of Eliyahu Navi. It's going to jump on the Mizbeah. It's going to want to do it willingly. And says the Malbim, from here we have to learn Kavahomer from the Behemoth. If the Behemoth that don't have the intellect like a human being, and still they understand intuitively that the purpose is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'mesirut nefesh, so Kavahomer, us as well. When the animals saw that Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom is not negotiating with Paro, already the animal said, yes, we want to go with Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the right malach. So therefore, the two malachim we have, one al pi apshat, and one al pi ada. Al pi apshat, the derash is what? Paro's keeping the animal because you don't need them. And Moshe Rabbeinu, no, ki mimendu. The korbanot are going to come mimenu velo mehem, not from the ra'ah neged penem, not from this bloodshed that you see. You're misreading it like you misread everything. The paper's upside down. The second explanation is, leave us the animals. Paro already is using a very, very dangerous tactic. Give us something. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, we give the Yetzer Hara nothing. Shabbat Shalom.